was the privilege of a lifetime is being who you truly are. Perfect to the song that Scarlett has sung today. And we will continue while being your authentic and true self. We move into the theme for 2024, which is courage over comfort. And we had talked about that it takes courage to be your true and authentic self. And does anybody know who this quote came from, courage over comfort? Brene Brown. Fits, doesn't it? Now, I want to make sure to remember that the last book that we read was called The Universe Has Your Back, Transform Your Fear to Faith. And so here we are, maybe having had some self-discovery and some self-growth in 2023 to discover your true and authentic self, and now continuing to take that deeper by learning where we need to step in and choose courage over comfort. So we have our new bookmark designed. It's not here yet, but it'll be coming. And in December, we talked about the first book being the 4 pivots, and I'll talk a little bit more about that during the lesson here. I wanted to mention a few things about the bookmark since this is my lesson for January before we get into February. The March and April book is called A Happy Pocket Full of Money. And some of you may say, oh, I'm comfortable with the amount of money I have. I don't really need to read back book. No, you need to read this book. This book, while he titled that, I'm sure, to lure people in, is really science of mind in the current language of what we know today. And so it's a wonderful book to speak more to the science of mind principles, which we'll be able to tie in as we read through that book. And then May and June is feel the fear, feel it, and do it anyway. And then next is Daring Greatly with Brene Brown, a wonderful book. We've actually been reading it as IT management at Chico State, which has been terrific to share with each other, to become vulnerable, to understand, to take courage, to innovate, and to move forward, which then leads to September and October, The Technology of Intention. And then lastly, for those of you that read the Paul Selig book, it's another part of his trilogy, book 2 called The Beyond and Known. So I know many of you enjoyed that book. I got to hear from many of you. So I look forward to reading these books and intertwining it with the science of mind philosophy. Yeah, Max? Excellent. Let me get, I know I have your email, but remind me and we'll send you the link to sign up. So for the book of the month, The 4 Pivots, the entire Centers for Spiritual Living Chico is encouraging and recommending all of the 400 plus centers to actually read this book. And Max is referring to an online book study that will be happening during January. So invite you in to join that group. I also wanted to say that Brene Brown has many YouTubes and podcasts, so I know we'll be supported well if you are somebody who doesn't read books but want to still continue to go deeper. Perhaps video is a way that is more enjoyable for you. And, Brene Brown, what would I do if I knew I wouldn't fail? I want to correct that a little bit because failure can be our most powerful path to learning if we're willing to choose that courage over comfort. And I noticed that Jana Stanfield, that song is probably 20 years old, and change the end to say, I am brave, to have the affirmation. And now we'll find a way to work with her to encourage that it's okay if I fail, because we are human. So courage obviously means being open and being vulnerable. And that may be hard to do in today's environment, right? We tend to want to protect ourselves. And choosing to be uncomfortable and choosing uncertainty over your comfort zone is our challenge. Can you consciously choose courage over comfort to discover your true self. No hiding, but instead shining your light like scarlet. So, are you ready for a transformation? Yes. Did you notice? Some said, yes, I am. Some said, I don't know. What are you talking about transforming? And some of you may just say, no. So, I want to bring up that comfort zone slide, if you will. Okay, so you can't see the words well there, but happy to make that available in the e-blast so that everybody gets a chance to see it. What is your comfort zone? What would you say your comfort zone is? It's the place where you feel what? Safe? Comfortable, yes. How about in control? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And what tends to keep us in our comfort zone is our fear zone, where, of course, we know that fear stands for false evidence appearing real. Maybe it's a lack of self-confidence, maybe a lack of faith, finding perhaps excuses not to step out of your comfort zone, maybe worrying about what others are thinking. When you step outside that comfort zone, and stepping outside your comfort zone doesn't mean you jump from comfort zone to perfection. It means comfort zone to explore, to try some things out, and perhaps to feel, again, vulnerable and awkward, expanding your zone. But, you know, the law of life is about growth. You can just look at nature. Growth is a natural law. And so next, from outside the comfort zone, when we step outside the comfort zone, we're stepping into the learning zone. And maybe it's just learning about yourself. Maybe it's being able to look in the mirror and realize what it is you don't know, what it is you're not comfortable with, discovering new feelings, new opportunities, new ways of doing things. But it does mean going beyond your comfort zone. So as you're learning new skills and acquiring new skills, then you begin to move forward into the growth zone. Now, when you stay in your comfort zone, you may think that's a healthy place to be. But eventually, staying in your comfort zone starts getting smaller and smaller. And then you may start to feel stagnant, restless, trapped, limited, disconnected, and living in scarcity. You've self-created this bubble of everything I know I can control, which then shrinks you. But again, what is law? Law is growth. Law is change. And while you may be hunkering down, life is still changing. So we create this illusion in our comfort zone and don't really get to take a look at and discover our true self beyond that comfort zone. And it is said that happiness begins at the edge of the comfort zone, where we feel alive and vibrant and discover new things. So, spiritual growth, self-discovery happens outside that comfort zone. So, how do we move ourselves into being vulnerable? How do we move ourselves into being okay with the unknown? So, do you believe the universe has your back? The book talked about moving, transforming from fear to faith. So if the universe has your back, what's stopping you from stepping out of your comfort zone? And that's a question that may take a while. Anybody see the movie Boys in the Boat? You liked it? Is it an inspirational movie? They weren't out of their comfort zone, were they? Constantly. They were out of their comfort zone, their physical zone, their mental zone, all aspects. The movie is very inspirational. And as I was watching that movie, it's about the rowing team from Washington State that actually won the Olympics in Germany in 1936. Highly recommend the movie, and then take with it this lesson with you. And, I was there, and there was just something, the main character was actually abandoned by his family when he was 14, had to go out on his own, but was trying to get enough tuition to go through school. He had the capacity to go through school, but he didn't have the finances. In 1936, it was a lot about money. So he joined the rowing team because he felt it was an opportunity to keep him learning and growing and getting his degree. So you start also taking for granted the kind of education that wasn't necessarily available to all. And as you follow this character and you lead through the story, when he succeeds, you can't help but get emotional. Why? Is there something about when people overcome limitations that there is a feeling that just hits the heart? But if you never allow yourself to step outside the comfort zone, you never get to, for yourself, be a victor over what potential you discover about yourself. So today, in Happy New Year 2024, it's to encourage you to push outside of your comfort zone. So comfort zones can be deceptive. Like I said, life is always changing. And what happens when you don't, let's say, exercise? If you don't go for walks, if you don't get out and about, what happens? Atrophy. Same thing with the brain, right? We're discovering with Alzheimer and dementia. Keep the brain learning because we're exercising the brain. How about emotions? If you never allow yourself to express anything but the same emotions in your comfort zone, self-discovery is stagnated. Who you are and how you can grow beyond. And then, of course, spiritual growth, which is why we're all here. And as a spiritual community, supporting each other in choosing courage over comfort. So we're going to be, as I mentioned, reading Brené Brown's book, Daring Greatly, where I want to make sure to say we have to acknowledge the fear that comes up, no matter how little or big we think that fear is, to God, it's all the same. There isn't a big fear and a small fear. There isn't a big challenge and a small challenge. It's our faith that opens us up to the possibilities, to the new experiences, to bring new perspectives, to learn to trust yourself outside that comfort zone and exercise the faith and the trust in the universe. Are there lots of choices out there in life? Unlimited. And yet we're in our comfort zone. What are we missing? You don't want to come to the end of your life realizing there was no way to really fail. So much more to life if we're willing to go beyond. So here at CSL Chico, we want to inspire you, empower you, and prepare you for transformation. So are you ready for transformation? Yes. Okay, I got a little more. Outside your comfort zone, you not only learn about yourself, but you begin to embrace change better. You develop a resilience. You're more creative in resolving problems that show up. And then you get to exercise better judgment and decisions because you're out there exercising beyond your comfort zone, learning more about you are more than you think you are. So we're going to be offering a Science of Mind class. I know many of you here, have taken Science of Mind classes. Oh, so you've got yourself entirely discovered, do you? The class will be called The Mystical Path. And so more about that, stay tuned. We're also continuing to follow then the 4 pivots, which I mentioned is the book that we are all reading. I'm about 1/3 of the way through. And Sean, I don't know how he says his name, Ginwright, I guess, as the author, he describes, he didn't put it in these words, that he was in a comfort zone. His job was teaching, and he had also was supporting and leading social justice activists. These were his 2 jobs. And he literally shares how he was publicly called out in both the classroom and in a session where he was leading these social justice activists. He was in his comfort zone, and he was trying to push his students into why aren't you doing the work? Why aren't you reading the material? And one of the students said, have you read your syllabus lately? And he paused for a moment and he said, what about the syllabus? Well, the date is 3 years back. Oops. And then teaching 200 activists, he led an activity, and all of a sudden, a social activist spoke up and said, this activity is not going in the right direction. It is actually enabling social injustice. And so then a gentleman spoke up who was a researcher and explained why it is this woman, African-American, was feeling what she was feeling, which then she dove in and said, I don't need anybody to justify or mansplain to me why I'm feeling. Woo! These are really, now he's sharing his wisdom and his understanding of what it means to get outside your comfort zone. And for him, he is teaching us and moving us through things we need to do to pivot these situations because of his willingness to look in the mirror. And his first pivot is from the lens to the mirror. From the lens, it's all out there that needs to change, to the mirror. I see where I need to grow, where I need to learn, where I need to discover more about my true and authentic self. And in looking in that mirror, he talked about how he viscerally understood there was no us and them. We are one, and we must heal this separation. And I'm sure he was God-inspired in the moment of the social justice to speak to that. Let's not be finger pointing. Let's right here, while we are challenged in this room, heal through this together. A pivot involves renewing our sense of possibilities, transforming how we see the world, and shifting the values of our culture. A pivot means that we need to dream higher about the future we want to create together. So this all means moving outside your comfort zone. Let me ask you again, are you ready to transform? Yes. Getting a little stronger. So how about some affirmations? I am inspired. I am inspired. I am empowered. I am empowered. And I am ready to be transformed. And then when you get that, it's I am transformed. All right. How does this all connect with Science of Mind? Anybody know the book called Creative Mind by Ernest Holmes? It was his first book in 1918. You think the words are still palpable for today? On page 62, he has something on expanding our thought. All things come to us through the use of our thought. If we have a small concept of life, we will always be doing small things. First in the creative series is the word, but the word carries us no further than our consciousness in back of those words. Unless we are constantly expanding our thoughts, we are not growing. And one more section under the level of consciousness. The Spirit can do for us only what it can do through us. We carry within our own soul the key to all expression, but few enter in. The door is not seen with the physical eye. Our power is limitless. It must become operative through our own thought. We shall see what we need is not some greater power, but that what we really need is a greater consciousness, a deeper realization of life, a grander concept of being. And I'd like to add being your true and authentic self. And we need to all be our true and authentic self to transform our community and our world for the better. So I ask once again, are you ready for transformation? Yes. All right, I know I've got more people aboard. So now what I would like to do is move into the healing meditation. And from the healing meditation, I will then ask Scarlett to come back up. But if you'll make yourself comfortable and relax, become comfortable in your chair. We come into the conscious recognition that there is only one life. This life is intelligent and creative. This life is my life. This life is good. Indeed, the universe, higher power, whatever you choose to call it, backs us up. In this one power, we open ourselves to know a greater life and a greater expression of our true self. We know that there lives within us and through us the power and the opportunity to expand to a greater expression for ourselves and for the world. And as we move forward from here in the beginning of 2024, we continue to make ourselves aware and know that the power of this spirit that is here and now is expressing itself as we become conscious and aware and open in our meditation and our spiritual practices, knowing that as we move forward and open to a greater expression, that we look to find the courage to step into that door, the door of greater power, the greater expression of truth and love and light and peace that lives truly in the base of each being. And I know this power is right here and right now, that as this community opens to the courage to move beyond the discomfort and to open to a greater expression of this community, Center for Spiritual Living, Chico. I know that we move together in union to grow, to learn, to expand, and to make a difference in this community and all of those whose lives we touch. I am grateful for this knowing, for this power, for this community, for this one heart that lives and knows itself, expressing in this world. As we each pivot in our own life by looking in the mirror, learning and growing, empowering and inspiring ourselves to transform. I know that the love oozes and expresses and expands our consciousness continues to expand to know the greater truth, so that our life, we may live it more fully and more truly as we know the truth of ourselves. I know that all of this is good, that we are blessed, blessed by the breath, blessed by life, blessed by love that lives at the base of all things. And so I give thanks for all of this knowing. I release this in mind. I let it be so. And together we say, and so it is. All right, Scarlett, come belt it out again.